Well, hey friends, Shanna Cramer here with Creatively Uncorked, and today we're going to paint this Bluebird of Happiness. How are you feeling today? Are you feeling anything less than perfect? If so, this Bluebird of Happiness is for you. Grab a brush, paint along. Today I have my watercolor set. These are mostly Holbein colors. Don't ask me which colors they are because I just don't remember. I have a 140-pound cold press Arches paper on a gator board, propped up on a box here for a little bit of gravity. And I have my bird sketched, and that was the one that you saw in the intro. Another AI image that I want to make my own. So I'm going to start out by painting the background. There are some highlights in here that we really have to keep white. So when I paint the background, I'm going to cover everything except the white. And I don't want to go too overboard adding color. I'll drop some color into it, but the background, I just want it to be a nice happy color. Happy bright. And I can drop other colors into it as we go, but I just want to make sure that I know I want to have a tint to the water so I can see what part has been covered and what hasn't. That makes sense. With clear water, it's sometimes a little hard to tell what parts of the paint, what parts of the paper you've already painted and what you haven't. And the paint will know. The paint follows the water. And there are going to be some highlights down here on this fence. Just trying to get as close as I can to that bird without going over. Using the big fat fluffy brush today, this one holds a lot of water, which is perfect for painting backgrounds. Maybe a little closer to the tail there. Okay. A little more water. You can see now where the gravity comes in handy. I've got all my water sort of dripping down toward the bottom, toward me. And I know you're probably thinking the same thing I am right now, which is, why are you using such a big fat brush for such tiny spaces? That is a very good question. Okay, leaving some gaps in there for some highlights. And filling in the rest. Okay, so I can see some areas where I want to come back and get a little closer to the bird. Okay. See how much easier that is when you have a color, a tint to your paint. So this area right in here, that actually is pretty darn white up here in the bird. And it fades out as it gets to the tail. So I'm just going to add some clear water in there and fade it out. There. Okay. Letting that go. Now I want to add my darker colors to the background. So I'll take a little bit of blue, maybe a little more blue, a little bit of orange. We're going to do a lot of blue and orange in this one. Maybe a little more orange. Way more water than that. Okay. Just going to give it in some little scribbles. I can add a little punches of some sunshine. And I may want to just switch to a slightly smaller brush here, actually. Let's see. There we go. Get a little sunshine in there. Maybe a little bit more blue, tiny little specks of blue in there. The blue and the orange are going to be great contrasting colors. And when I was originally planning on painting this, I thought maybe that it would mostly be done with only blues and orange. Then I realized that was silly. It's watercolor. I have all the colors in the world. I don't need to do just blue and orange. I mean, sure, that's a great thing to do for a practice, for an exercise, but come on, man. It's a painting. Let's see, what else might we want for colors? We got a little blue in there still. I really like this yellow, bright, happy background. So I'll kind of keep that going on. Okay, right up into the fence. Okay, so once we get into the fence here, let's tilt some of that water, giving it a good tilt, letting some water run down. Okay. Now on this fence, I know I'm going to have some streaks of some blues, maybe little reds, maybe it's looking a little too similar. We'll grab a little orange. Oh, let's grab a little more blue. Try a different blue. Ooh, not that one. This one. I think this one must be like an ultramarine blue. Just pretty darn versatile blue, and one that you should always have in your palette, no matter what kind of paint you're working with. Okay, getting some streaks in there. We want to have enough variety, but also make sure it still looks like a fence. So let's see, getting some oranges. We could maybe even do some lighter blues. What the heck? Why not? Let's see, do we want to do more blues? Do we want to add any other colors? What if we added a gray? I always hesitate to add opaque colors, but who cares? This is our painting. We'll do what we want with it. Maybe that gray will work. Ooh, maybe the purple will work. Okay, starting to get muddy. Gonna add a couple more darker colors in here. Here's more of a brown, reddish brown. There, now it's really looking like a fence. Ooh, got some color running. So I'm just taking a thirsty brush. The thirsty brush is a damp brush that's been dried on a paper towel, and so it's ready to absorb water. And I'm just going to go right along the edge of this painting and absorb some of that excess water just to keep it from back running and creating blooms. I mean, we can have a few. I don't mind a few. I just don't want the whole thing to look unintentional. All right, what do you think of that? Is the background a little too light? Should we add some darker spots? I mean, we could. Eh, what the heck? Let's go with that. Maybe another little color over here. How about some nice bright punchy orange? This is where I want my sunshine to be. Bright, bright, sunshiny color. Backgrounds are fun. Enjoy painting your background. I really think it's the most fun of any watercolor painting. You can do pretty much whatever you want. You can just scribble away. You can have fun. You get to practice with all of your different colors and see what they all do. Yeah. All right. Let's take a look at, okay, I'm going to be patient. I'm going to wait for it to dry, but I'm not going to be that patient or wait that long. I want to come up here and get this, any details. I'm just going to keep an eye on it as it's drying and make sure I can get any details that I need to get. If you wait too long with these details, you can't fix them. You can't adjust them. Okay, that's looking pretty all right. Kind of light right there under the chin. Okay. Let's see. I think we're going to need some darker areas on that fence. I'm just not sure if now is the right time to add them. I can try a few though. There's kind of a red. I'll mix with a little blue. That's a nice dark color there. What red is that? I don't know. I really don't know. It's a really dark red though. It might even be some kind of brown for all I know. Let's add a little more blue to it. Purple that down. What I can do though is I can tell you the colors that I use most often and I'll just post those in the comments or in the description later on. How's that? Still looking like a fence? I don't want to go overboard. You, not that blue. Yeah, I think I'm gonna let that go and let that just dry out a little bit more before adding too much detail. I don't want to go overboard with it, not yet, because right now anything I put into it is going to fade out, get a little blurry, and I think there's some next parts in here that I just want to keep a little more defined. So let's move on to that bird if we can. Thirsty brush again. I'm just going to go around the edge of the bird here a little. I want that bird to kind of glow. I don't want a hard edge there. I want kind of a glowing edge. So let's see if I can do it with just by scribbling this out before it gets too dry. Some parts of it might already be too dry. Okay, well, I guess it's a little too dry, so I'll just be patient. Be patient. Yep. Okay. If you know me, you know I'm not made out of patience. I actually started doing watercolor in the first place so I could learn patience. Watercolor is all about patience and pre-planning. All right, so while this is drying, and this is going to take a little while to dry, so I kind of want to move on to that bluebird. I'll switch to a slightly smaller brush here. And let's see, what kind of blues do I want? Also going to take a paper towel and get some of this cleaned up. Okay. So back over to the blue. I'm going to try this. I'm pretty sure it's ultramarine because that is definitely the color of a bluebird. Yep, lovely, gorgeous. And I do think this Antwerp, that's what blue that is. So this Antwerp blue and this ultramarine blue are gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. I'm gonna try one more blue though because those are pretty dark. I want one to lighten it, cool it off. If you have cerulean, that might be the time to use it. Otherwise, this one might work. I'm not sure what this is. Ocean blue or something like that. This is a little too turquoise. That's not going to work. Get that off the palette. Okay, so I've got my three blues and that's going to work just fine. So I'll start with the mid blue. And if you watched the bird we did yesterday, we're going to start with the mid colors and then add our highlights and our lowlights. But for now, the mids. And this brush has definitely seen better days. It's all a little frayed and crooked and well, it happens. Biggest challenge here right now is to keep my hands out of the wet paint. Okay, you've got areas of lighter blue, darker blue. I'll take this really light blue and kind of give it a highlight edge here. Really feel like I should be working with more water. Maybe I will. Why don't I go ahead and do that? A little more water, a little more blue. I'll just keep right on going here. I've got some blue areas in here. But before this other stuff dries, I do want to come back. Here we go, an even smaller brush, and I'll take my darker blue because that darker blue, that's really going to touch water, touch a blue. Okay, give it some real modeling effect, so it's going to look a little more 3D, like a bird. Just tilted a little too high, laying it down a little. Okay, I've got some darker colors down in here, darker colors down in here. In watercolor, I have to remind myself this once in a while, is not painting with paint, it's painting with water. So, as long as you can paint with water, you should be doing just fine. Just tint the water a little. Let's get some other colors in here. Okay. Go back to that ultramarine blue. And I have this section of the bird and the wings here that are, I'm just going to fill this in with my background color, which is that watery ultramarine. Okay, I'll be picking up some of that lighter blue, blending that in a little. A little more water. Pick up this darker blue, even in a few spots. Oh, too much water. Not enough blue. Okay, there we go. So I have just mostly blue on the brush now and not very much water. There, and that'll just kind of float in there and mix around a little. Sure do like these colors. Good idea, painting a bluebird. Bluebird of Happiness. This Bluebird of Happiness is for my daughter. She called me this morning or sent me a message and I don't want her to have a bad day, so I'm making her a Bluebird of Happiness. Because that's all it takes, right? It's just a Bluebird of Happiness. More of that light blue there. Try not to get too much water. Get that little birdie's blue belly. A little light color there. I'm just using a damp brush here just to lift out some of these colors. Some areas got pretty heavy. And really, I think one of the beauties of watercolor is how delicate it can look with just a tiny amount of paint added. All right, moving on. I think I'll keep this brush for now and just start working with my oranges. Not this orange, that got pretty muddy, and I want a good clean orange. So I'm still going to use this one, my dark orange, my medium orange, maybe a touch of this red, maybe, possibly even a hint of yellow. Okay, so I'll start up here under this little beak. Mostly water, a little bit of yellow. And again, this is just mostly so I can see where I've painted. Come back here and get a little orange. We'll start darkening that up right away. Take a darker orange. Maybe even into the red a little. Okay, a little bit of reds. Don't go too overboard with that. I want to kind of keep it in the yellowy orange and watery yellowy orange. So a thing that some people do with their watercolors, they'll have two separate cups, one for the clean water, one for the rinse water. Pure genius, I tell you. Pure genius. And try and keep this clean. Come back and add a little bit of blue in there. Kind of where the feathers go together. I'm gonna grab another paper towel, be right back. You know something else that other people do that's a great idea? They keep their paper towels handy. Other people are so smart. All right, I got my paper towels here though, I'm all good. Just gonna lift a little bit of that out where I can. Sometimes you can lift with a brush, sometimes you have to come back with a paper towel and just dab that a little bit. Just wanted to brighten it up because I want that glow coming through. There should be a glow around that bird. That is what this bird is all about, is the lighting effect and that glow. So I think I'm going to stop there with the paint on the blue for now, and I'll work into some of the other details and then come back. All right, so one of the other details I want to work on, you remember that dark color we had for a little while? I took that brown and that blue, and then I want to add some legs onto this little guy. A little more water, a little more brown, a little more blue. Okay. A little more water. That's too dark. I want these colors to to flow, to move around. And that's only going to happen if you have enough water. There we go. So that's nice and light. So we've got a lot of water in there. The color's flowing and moving. Okay, while that water's flowing and moving, we can take dark colors if we want to and just drop them in. And that'll give us some color variation. Nice and easy. All right, now this guy's got some little leggers. Can we work on the face yet? I vote yes. Okay, so I'm gonna take out a tiny brush. Little teeny tiny brush. We'll see how well it works. I had one yesterday that just wouldn't hold any water. Seemed like it was going to be good for detail, but it wasn't. Couldn't hold any water at all. So we'll see what this one does. Okay, a little brown, a little blue. Try and make a bridge out of my other arm here so I don't stick my hand in wet paint. Oh, definitely darker. Okay. Well, maybe this will be, maybe I'll just smooth it out and call it good. Oh boy, a couple of little dashes there on the, oop, right on the beak. Maybe I can kind of soak those up a little bit. A little bit there, a little bit there. Okay, stop touching the painting. Okay, move on. All right. Again, picking up some of that darker color, making a bridge with my arm, trying to lean on this so I don't lean on the painting. Got the dark color in the eye. You know what? I want more dark color. More dark color. Maybe even a little red because that's going to be kind of like brown for the eye. Okay. Not so bad, not so bad. Keep going. Take some of that dark blue again. Down here below the eye. All right. We'll have a few more details that we can add here in a little while, but for right now, I'm going to leave that. Actually, I do want that eye darker, so I'm just going to pick up some thick, dark color here. And this dark color, if I remember right, is a black. I believe it's peach black, which is a nice thick black for watercolor. Okay, stop. Wait patiently. If this beak is still wet, maybe I can pop some of the dark color in there. Okay, not going to go overboard. That's my goal. Good to have goals. Okay. All right. I'm going to leave that alone. I'm going to do my best to ignore it and move on to some of these wings. So these wings are not quite dry yet. Let's see what I have for other brushes. Don't like that one very much. So here's this detail brush I was using yesterday that I didn't like because it doesn't hold water. This is a Princeton brush. It's for gouache. Might even be for acrylic. I don't know. I'm probably going to try it for oils, but I'm telling you what, it's not the best for watercolor. Do as I say, not as I do. Here I go, using it in my watercolors. All right, so I'm going back to the dark color. And I think I want a little more blue in that. Okay. A little more water in that. Uh-oh, here we go with that water thing again. How's that look? Is that looking like feathers? I think I want that really dark blue. Really dark blue and even maybe a little of that brown. And remember, while you're painting this, this is a Bluebird of Happiness. So think happy thoughts. Only happy thoughts can paint a happy painting. All right. I'll let that go. I don't want to go too overboard on it, but I might. It's just a thing I do is go a little overboard. All right, moving on. Now maybe I can kind of scribble out some of those blends. I probably should have just put blue, orange in, just all at the same time when it was all wet, but I didn't. But it's a good thing to note for next time. Just gonna come back and add these details on the wings. Oh, let's see. You know, I'm not getting the glow I want, so I think I am going to come back into this with some white paint. You know, try to avoid it, but if you gotta use white, you gotta use white. It's not the end of the world, it's just a painting. There are some watercolor purists out there that will tell you never use white. Don't worry, I'm not one of those. Ooh, hey, now's a good time to get our texture into that fence. Okay, so now I've got that reddish. Now this is the mostly dry brush because remember this is the one that does not hold very much water. So I can pick up some paint and do some dry brush techniques with it. This brush is going to have some redeeming qualities for watercolor, one way or another. Yeah, let's get some of the darks in there again. More water. Okay, I'm starting to feel like that might be taking some attention away from the birds, so. But what is fun to paint? I love all the textures and everything you can get with it. Okay, enough with the fence. I think we're gonna have to move on from the fence, whether we want to or not. Oh boy, here we go. Put the paintbrush down, walk away, quit painting. Easier said than done. Okay. Well, we've still got a few highlights around there. All right, let's see. I may want to darken up some parts of the background, but not yet. Here's something I do want to do just for testing. Take some of that white. It's not pure white, it's a little bit dirty. Well, so be it. And then so I just want to add some highlights here, some little white highlights. Now this is never going to be as bright or as pretty as just plain white paper, but you know, you gotta do what you gotta do. Life goes on. Get a little more white, kind of going around the whole edge of the bird here. This is the part I'm concerned about, but I know that paint there is still wet. But maybe it won't matter. Got some white feathers. Got some light feathers in here. You know, this is our painting. Maybe we can just use white like it's just another color. Why don't we do that? This white, I believe, I think it's just titanium white watercolor paint, although it might be gouache. I'm not going to promise. Haven't used this palette in a long time, so I can't really remember what's in it. Let's see. I think I might take some of that white and mix it in with some of that light blue. It's my painting. I'll do what I want. Ooh. okay. It's not terrible, but I feel like I'm losing some of the blues. So I'm going to come back with those richer blues. This is a Bluebird of Happiness, and the blue is the most important. So this ultramarine blue, which is the ultimate blue for this painting. It's a really pretty blue. So we'll get some blends in there. So it's mixing with a little of the white. Let's see how that works out. A little more. Ooh, wow. Okay, so pro tip here, if you're painting with opaques and transparent watercolors, use a transparent first. Save the opaques for last, if you can. I decided to experiment, and well, that's okay. So now I'm just going to keep an eye on it, make any adjustments that I need to make while it's drying. And I'm going to see if I can just punch up that glow while I'm at it. Maybe not this part. This will lighten as it dries, so I'm not really worried about that. Maybe blend out that edge there a little. Now it's glowing. And that white isn't going to stay that bright. It will fade. All right, what else might we want to do to this bird? Let's make it look a little more finished. I guess I can take a little more orange in here. Just a little punch up some colors. It's a Bluebird of Happiness, but he's got some reds and pinks in there too. I mean, not pinks. Nope, not pinks. Reds and blues, reds and oranges. There. Just wanted to add a bright punch of color in there, just a pow. Just punch it up a little. There, now we're talking. Smooth out this neck a little bit. Now we've got some good punches of color. Let's come back into that ultramarine. Come back up in the neck, because I did want these colors to blend anyway. Now I'm coming back with just a damp brush, moving those colors around. Yeah. You know, I think we're getting somewhere. I do want to punch some more dark color into here, into that one wing. Oh, goodness. Gorgeous. Blue. Yeah. How many of you, your favorite color is blue? You know, it's the most popular favorite color. I bet at least somebody's favorite color is blue. Okay. Stop brushing the water. I'm going to sit back and take a look for a second. See if there's anything else that I might want to fix about this. That glow is a little crazy, but it's also not dry yet, so I'm going to let it go. I still like some of those fun colors in the background. Backgrounds are so fun. I'm going to go with just want to kind of even this back a little bit, if that makes sense. It's getting a little too much attention, so I'm just gonna dull it down. Yeah, that'll work. It's a little more even now, a little more even toned, so it's not getting quite so much attention. Because this is a story of a bluebird, not the thing he's sitting on. Okay, so for me and all my infinite patience here, I think I'm gonna call this done. Now the paint is still wet, the paper is still wet. You can probably see how it's still bubbling. So it's definitely still wet. So this color is going to change a little bit. It's going to flatten out, it's going to mute, and it's going to lighten up. So these colors are going to change a little bit during the dry time that it's going to have, but I'm going to call this good, leave it right here. Thank you for painting along with me. If you want to check out Creatively Uncorked's membership, go to members.creativelyuncorked.com. It's not all watercolor. There's an awful lot of acrylic painting tutorials in there. And you can put in requests, something that you want to see painted. Let me know. I'm happy to paint it for you or with you. So thanks for painting along with me. I will see you next week.